Welcome back to the Casting Call cEDH podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Chase, and Blake's got me fucking worked up, but let's talk about the Invitational that's coming. I can't even say it now.
Today has been a hell of a day so far. Because Wait,
have we started?
Yeah,
we're not going back
intro.
and redo it. No,
Fuck no. Fuck no. Good intro.
That was not good. Go back and redo it.
No. Authenticity, my friend.
God. This is the day Chase quits the channel.
You were watching the fall apart of the Casting Call crew.
This is bullshit.
So what are we talking about today, Chase?
Oh my god. So I guess, I don't know, we've spent like 2 hours trying to think about what the fuck to talk about for this weekend. Because here's what's happened, okay? Chase came in with an idea for today. Blake goes, I don't know how that's going to work. And then we've dissected it for like the past like hour and a half and segued into multiple different things. Being like, what? We've talked about this. We've talked about how we feel like at times we're behind compared to like everyone else preparing for shit. Like, we've looked at events. We haven't even talked about any kind of spoilers that have come out recently. That's something that I don't even think we're touching today, between the Spider-Man stuff and the fucking Infinity Stone and things like that. Here I came in, I was like, hey, maybe we could talk about this. And Blake's like, I don't know what you mean by that. And I'm like,
okay, to be fair, so what Chase said is he was like, hey, we could talk about decks that could potentially pop up at the Invitational. And I said, but we already have a list of people that qualified. We know what decks they're likely to play. And then that in turn spiraled into a
madness.
Yes.
Fucking chaos.
This has been a writers' meeting. You're getting an inside scoop. This
is every 2 weeks. This shit happens. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, we could do this. And Blake goes, we can do this. And I go, yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Blake goes, but what do you want to do? And I go, it doesn't matter to me. What do you want to do?
Chase never makes a decision.
And Blake also never makes a decision.
Look, okay, listen. Chase is a therapist, and he gets in my fucking head and makes me think that all of my ideas, I second guess everything.
He second guesses everything, and I'm just like, let's do this. And he goes, but what about this? And I'm like, it doesn't matter to me.
I can't tell if I'm getting mentally mind fucked or not.
You're not. I'm being straightforward with you. Let's just fucking pick something and do it.
What do you want to do?
Don't ask me that question.
We've already decided what we're doing. So Chase watched a video. Colors are a crutch.
I'm not prepared for today.
And they talked about all of the decks that people have been playing leading up to the Invitational, as far as like the top qualifying like players. So they did a pie chart and they broke down what decks are likely to make an appearance. Chase had the wonderful idea to talk about what decks we have noticed have been performing very well since we've been covering a shit ton of events here recently, and what could potentially pop up that may not be on that list, or that may be on the list but has like a very low representation. So I decided that that's what we should do. That's what we're doing right now.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yep.
Except he just now came to that conclusion. It was a lot of like, I don't know. If you want to.
I am Chase's wife. I will make no decisions. He has to make the decision.
Oh my God. Are you trying to prepare me for April? Is that
yes. Congratulations.
Whenever I get married, yeah. So, oh fuck. So yeah, I guess that's what we're doing. I don't know. He's finally made a decision on what we're doing for today. So I guess that's what we're doing. But yes, Blake is correct. So the other day I was kind of preparing for work and getting ready for the day, and I was listening to a video that came out recently from Colors Are a Crutch. And so I know that Max, Wounded Satellite, he was talking a lot about, everyone really trying to prepare for like Rogthras because of how dominant it is in the format. And I feel like even whenever we've like gone through and breaking down like our top 16, Rogthras continues to pop up in place quite a bit. And we've seen a lot of like, not necessarily different iterations of it, but we've seen the deck kind of evolve over time. But he made a really good comment there of like, even though people are really trying to prepare and tech for that deck in particular, like you still have to be prepared for blue form, because that is going to be the deck that probably has the most representation, just because of like how many people are playing it, the conversion rate on it, what the deck is trying to do, the consistency on it, like things like that. Like that is going to be the biggest deck that pops up from this event.
Yeah.
So I agreed with him on that. And I definitely saw like the reason why people are preparing for Rogthras. But in my head, whenever I was listening to that too, I was just kind of like, okay, but you know, yes, you can see the leaderboards. Yes, you can kind of do like a guesstimation on like what decks are going to be there. But from where we've been doing our tournament breakdowns, I was just kind of like, maybe there's some other decks that are consistently placing or consistently like having a good conversion rate, things like that, that they might not be like super popular in the meta, but like I would kind of expect to see some of these decks at this event.
Yeah.
Because they are still performing at a really high level wherever they're seen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. Obviously, like, you've got to prepare for the best thing. We saw that last year where, like, everybody adopted, like, there was, like, 3 decks that dominated, like, the actual meta share of that event, which was, like, there was, like, Rogside was huge. Blue Farm, I think, was still, like, the dominant, like, meta share. And I think at that point, Sisay was still doing really, really good, too. And then obviously like the stuff in the top 10 is going to have a big representation there just because it is the top 10. Part of the reason why it's the top 10 is because these players are taking it to events doing really well, and then people kind of get drawn to the list.
Yeah.
But we have noticed that like with a lot of new decks coming out, people are really adopting some of these new decks, brewing, trying to work some of this stuff out. So I definitely could see somebody just like throwing a curveball out there and being like, nah, I've been working on this whole time in the background, just like prepping, maybe in like smaller events, and like occasionally going to like maybe a big event that doesn't necessarily get tracked with it. And then they just like out of left field, it's like you were talking with Pigeon, like, you know, he's been on Atali for a long time, but then all of a sudden he like shows up with some just curveball deck and people go, whoa. So I mean, I could definitely see something like that happening.
And like even when we were going through and again trying to finalize what we were fucking doing for today, like we looked at, you just brought up Pigeon there. I looked at his last event that he had placed in, or like was his most recent on his TopDeck profile, and the last thing was Rogthras, and he's been playing Atali, I think, most likely. I don't know. Pigeon, let us know. But like, you know, he played that at Mortal Kombat like a couple months ago at this point now, and then apparently he's been doing like super well in Criticals League. Like, didn't you say he's like was first last?
He's first right now.
Okay.
And last month he was in the top 16 of it.
And so like it makes me wonder if he's like still playing Atali. Like Atali is like, again, that's one of those decks that is consistently like we've seen pop up here and there, even within our top 16 breakdowns, you know. And like I'm kind of looking at the numbers on EDH top 16 as we're talking about these things, and I see Atali here, and so like even though the conversion rate in the top cuts is not the best, like it's the conversion rate for, and I'm going based off of top cuts within the past month at 60 plus player events between all commanders, and it has an 18.42% conversion rate with only 7 top cuts. Now, but that's 7 top cuts within the past month.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not awful numbers by any means, but it's definitely, I think, a deck to have on people's radar as just an example of things, just because, like, I think they were kind of making a point in that video too, that as I was watching it, of like the way the format is right now, like it's kind of, and I know I'm going to butcher this, and I'm sure that they made other points, but the things that stood out to me is like everyone is either doing one of 2 things right now, where they are trying to build up a board presence and kind of sit back on some of these value engines like the Ristic Study and Smothering Ties and things like that to accrue advantage in the early game, or you're just jamming very early on. Atali is one of those decks that, like, if you just jam it and no one has an answer for it, and they're just, like, you just cast Atali on turn 2 and just go, you got an answer, you got an answer, you got an answer, okay, flip. and then they start getting the value off of that, they can very quickly run away with the game. And so that's where I'm, as far as today goes, like that's where I was just kind of like, okay, if we talk about some of these decks that, you know, are not necessarily just Blue Farm or Rogthras or Kennen or TNT or Rogside, what are these other decks that people might be expecting going into this event? Or there's another big event coming up in the same, you know, this weekend as well, which is the Steel City event, also in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are two really big events that are coming up this weekend that people should kind of be on the lookout for some of these decks that we might be talking about today. So
yeah, I concur.
You're just smiling, you're cheesing over there. What you got?
I'm just happy to be here.
You're just happy to be here.
Just happy to be
We've
here.
calmed down a little bit. You haven't got me worked up anymore. So so I mean, I don't know, what have been some things that you have noticed that we've talked about these past few weeks, like as far as decks we've seen pop up in our like top 16 breakdowns that you're like, okay, maybe these could be other decks that people should either be on the lookout for or expect or things like that?
Well, it's been kind of interesting because I feel like we've covered a lot of events where the decks in the top are literally not the same.
Yeah.
So it like,
and part of that is intentional too. Like we're in, like if we're seeing like multiple like events that are about the same numbers, we are more likely to try to cover the ones that, even if we don't know what the fuck the deck is trying to do, as people so graciously pointed out with the what was it? Yeah, the you know, like we might not know exactly what the deck is trying to do, but we do try to cover events that like either don't have a lot of like super consistent, like just there's 8 blue forms in the top, or you know, oh, it's this same person, like fucking Ian, like, you know, he's getting first or second at this event again. Let's cover that. Like, no, that's not what we're trying to do with this.
Yeah.
But we are recognizing certain trends with this. And I do feel like Atali has kind of popped up a couple times.
Well, not only that, though, but like the only way that we're going to learn these fucking decks is just by going and like looking at them. So if anything.
Or playing them.
Yeah. Nah.
I have no interest in playing the Ratadrast or whatever.
Ratadravic.
Whatever it is. I don't.
Well, you asked. You. It sounded like you added that inflection.
Nah, I don't care.
But they're getting me worked up. No, but no, I do feel like that. All we're trying to do is just we're looking at the decks. We are not saying that we know what all of this shit is, because the only way that we're going to learn is by seeing it pop up in one of these events and going, "Oh wow, that's neat." It's basically just a live reaction to us seeing the deck.
We're just doing reacts. Yeah. It's kind of like I'll give another example, probably a better example. And the Sisay deck that we covered a couple weeks ago, piloted by Malcolm, where I made the comment, I was just like, "Is this a fucking Knuckles deck?" He very quickly in the Discord was just like, "No, that's not." That's not how this deck wins. He was just like, it's basically a Treasure Storm build of Sisay. And so like that's a good example of like whenever we're doing these things, we might not like do research right away on what these decks are trying to fucking do. It is just a fucking reacts. Like whatever we're seeing, you were seeing our reaction in real time, but we're trying to piece this shit together. And we just hope that the pilots of those decks come in and they're just like, yeah, this is actually what it's trying to do. But I think that's a good thing, though, because, like, you know, whether this might be a little bit of a segue, but you also said we're just going to talk about random bullshit today. So I'm going to go off topic for a second. Okay. Like, one of the things that I really appreciate about us doing the top 16 breakdowns in that way, we might not necessarily know what each deck is trying to do, or we might be trying to piece things together, but it's cool seeing the actual pilots of the deck or people that actually are familiar with the deck come in and be like, oh, you know, you all made some good points on this, but these are things that you missed. Because like that's how we, not just us, but anyone watching our videos or interested in these decks or things like that, that's how you actually like educate people.
Yeah.
And like just trying to like get people within this space of trying to not only like talk about cEDH or like being informed on what the decks are, but trying to do it in like a positive manner. I know like a couple of weeks ago, whenever Max was on Critical, and like the comment there was brought up about like whether it's like us, and I think Kellen even commented on that video too, whether it's us, Critical, that's a good card, card book, cookbook, and like all these like a lot of other content creators that are in the space, like trying to like cross pollinate is what he had said. Like I think that is huge right now, because like there's a lot of negativity in this space at times.
Yeah.
And I think that, and we'll probably get some backlash on saying that, but like I genuinely think that whether it's things that happen at events, Reddit, even YouTube, on Discords, whatever it is, there are some negative takes, and it actually like kind of steers people away from our format. But I do feel like where not just with Critical and that's a good card, and us and whoever else is trying to like get on board all at the same time, like I think we're trying to make a difference here. But and that's my little segue for a second, getting off topic.
Well, I mean, I don't think that that's off topic. Like, because I definitely think that that's a good point. Like, it would be one thing if we were posting about these decks and we were saying, hey, blah, 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 blah. We talk about the deck, and then somebody goes, you're a bunch of fucking idiots. And, like, they're in the comment section, just like everybody ripping, or even the people that play the decks are just ripping. Like, that's my deck. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
But that's not what happens. Most of the time, the people that are playing the decks in these events, they go, oh my gosh, that's my deck. That's so awesome. Yeah. And then they're so excited to talk about the deck. I think that cEDH has a very bad stigma about it, and I think it's our job and like other content creators and people in the space to break that stereotype. Like, people think that because we play at a competitive level that we we sacrifice fun for competitiveness, when in reality, like, the game is fun. Like, obviously, like you're not going to just make like a silly play. You're going to try and make like most optimal plays, but also like we're still having fun when we're doing that. Like, to us, that's fun. Now, not everybody in this space, honestly, most people in this space are not just assholes. They're not walking around being rude and disrespectful to people and going to tournaments just so that they can, like we're not going to Friday Night Magic so we can just pub stomp people. We want to go to a tournament and play against good players, and like test ourselves, edit the decks. Like, we have attachments to these commanders or to these decks or to winning or whatever it may be. But like, it's fun, it's social, we like it, like we enjoy the format, and we want people to have what we have. Like, we share our experience so that hopefully more people will see that, they get into the format, and then we just kind of like build the community up. I think that a lot of these content creators are doing a really good job of that. We're like, back in the day, Dylan and Cam, like whenever they got into the space, or like Playing with Power and a lot of these other channels, like they got into it whenever this format was like kind of in its infancy. It wasn't completely brand new, but it was newer. They did a huge service to the format by helping build all this up and like giving us now an opportunity to kind of like stand on their shoulders and say, hey, we're going to help, really push the format out now and like get it out there. We're kind of like that second wave. Like, I think Eric kind of said that we're like the second wave of content creators, like all of us. So I think that it's fun to see how positive people are, even if you do get something wrong with their deck, rather than just being like, why are you even talking about this deck? You have no idea. You don't play it. You don't know anything about it. Like, you get a good idea after being in the format for a bit. You start to understand like the combos and like what cards do and stuff like that. And then when we don't have a clue, then we're like, well, I have no idea what this deck does. And we read, and then eventually go, oh, maybe this is a combo. Maybe this is a combo. And then somebody tells us. And then the next time that we come back to a deck like that, we go, oh man, we just covered one of those like 4 months ago. I know what this deck does.
Because someone taught us how it actually fucking works. So yeah, no, and that's the whole part of building up this community and trying to actually like, promote that kind of mindset, as opposed to, just where everyone has, well, I'm not gonna say everyone has, but there are the moments whenever people are just trying to tear down for no reason.
I was hoping you would just keep talking. So
no, I'm just gonna make it awkward.
You're an asshole.
Yes, I am. Fuck you, motherfucker.
That's all staying in. They're gonna be like, damn, James and Blake really don't fucking like each other.
But no, so and I guess kind of looking at these decks then that people have either corrected us on, or things, going back to the idea of trends and preparing for this next weekend, because we do have a couple of really big events coming up. Like, we just kind of talked about Atali really briefly there, just as far as like, that's something to be on the radar for, of like a deck that if you're just not prepared for it, if you say it's like a seat 1 deck, like, or the pilot of it comes in and they're sitting at seat 1, and it's like, well, I know that we need to be prepared for it, but I want to set up my value engines. I'm going to try to mulligan for a Ristic Study or a Fish or things like that. Atali ain't going to give a fuck about that. it's just go jam big dino. Like, you gotta prepare for that, especially if it's in that part of the rotation. It's like the same thing if Rogside's at seat 1. Like, if Rogside's at seat 1, players can't just be like, oh, I'm going to mulligan and try to get the Ristic Study or the Fish or the Smothering Tithe or whatever it is. I'm going to set up my board state. No, the game might be over by then.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Atali game plan. And I think there's a couple other decks that we might be able to talk about that are kind of in the same boat there.
Well, I feel like Atali is one of those decks where it will actually do really well if somebody does try to take it to the Invitational, because most of the decks are going to be good decks. Like, the thing about Atali is, like, it kind of struggles whenever you put it into like a weird pod of like Fringe decks, because it needs to flip good cards off of the top of people's decks. Now, obviously, it can still win in a Fringe pod. Like, it can hit a food chain, and then all of a sudden now it's doing like the squee thing, and then ta-da, like, you've won because you exiled everybody's deck and you're good to go. But if you end up in a pod of just like I said, like janky stuff that doesn't really help you in any way, you're not setting up like you're not flipping a Ristic or like a value engine. You're not hitting a One Ring, like some of these some of these cards that are really, really good. You're gonna hit some weird like
Shadow Immortality from the Yuriko player.
Yeah. Or you're gonna hit like the Boromir from the the Ratadravic player, and you're gonna hit like a I don't even know, an Aftermath Analyst from the Lumra, and like stuff like that. So it's one of them things. Like, the better the decks are at the table, I feel like the better that Atali, like the more potential Atali has to like do the Atali thing. So I think that's a deck that could be slept on, and then like if somebody does take it, there might not be a ton of representation of it, but I do think that if people are already good with the deck and they do take it, I think that they'll have some good success with it. I think it'd be dope to be like, oh yeah, Pigeon won the whole Invitational with Atali.
Yeah.
Whereas like last year it was Blue Farm, and then this year they'd be like, Blue Farm gonna repeat, and it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is that it's probably going to end up being a blue. I don't know. My speculation would be it's probably going to be a Blue Farm that takes it. Yeah, that takes it. But I don't know. There is a deck that we have kind of talked about here recently on the channel, and you've played a few times, and I played only once here recently, and we've made friends with Kellen that I think could be another pretty good deck to be able to expect for this big event. But would you like to talk about that deck, because you're the one that knows it better than I do? So
what, like Dargo Timna?
Yeah.
I think that deck is absolutely slept on. I'm not gonna lie. I think obviously Kellen's insane with that deck. So like he elevates the deck even more. Like, just like you can give a unique deck or like a good deck, anything, to like a player that has no idea what they're doing, and they're just not gonna succeed with the deck. But he is so good with the deck that it really elevates the level at what the deck can perform at. But even as somebody who's not anywhere near Kellen's level, like, the deck is strong. Like, it's got the potential to just continuously like put wins up on the stack constantly, like over and over and over and over and over. The deck's a lot of fun too. So I mean, it has the potential to jam. I definitely think that it is a very strong deck. I could see some people showing up with the deck.
Yeah.
And but the one reason that I don't know that it'll have a ton of representation, especially at the Invitational, is like, dude, when you lose access to blue, it's tough.
It's a whole different game.
Yeah. And what I would be worried about in that situation are decks that may be trying to go fast. Like, it feels real bad whenever you have a Red Blast in your hand and somebody's casting an Atali, or like, like somebody just flipped a Ral and now they're like,
yes and no. It depends. Like, if you have the man to cast that Red Blast and you want to ensure that the person that has a Ristic Study down isn't going to accrue more value, then I agree. Bad in that situation.
Yeah. I agree with that. But like I said, I don't know. I don't think Dargo Timna is a bad choice at all.
While we're still on it, again, looking by the same metrics, and I'm looking at this from the past month. Dargo Timna has a conversion rate of 35.71 with 5 top cuts.
What are the metrics that you're looking at?
I'm looking at top cuts within the past month, all commanders at 60+ player events.
All commanders at 60+. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I mean, it's not, it's not the highest rated one, but a 35.71% conversion rate.
It does have 5 top cuts, which is pretty cracked too, that's really good. Because I'm looking at tournament says 60+. Yeah. No, I mean, that's really good. That's really good. I think that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just think that it's decks like those. Like I felt like Atali and the Dargo Timna one are kind of in the same category at times, where it's just like if you are not prepared for this deck, then it's going to run away, and you're not going to know the exact point to interact with it. And I think that was even a point that Kellen made in the video you did with him of just like, yeah, I can kind of like, it was almost, and I could be wrong in saying this, but it was almost like, yeah, I can kind of sneak these pieces out. If they get stopped, like it is whatever, I can pivot to something different. But it's just like, are you really going to counter this right now? Are you really going to remove this piece? It's not an issue until it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And then whenever it becomes an issue, everyone else at the table doesn't know whenever it's becoming an issue because it's already too late.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what, like, people are more familiar with the Atali and the Atali game plan, obviously, than what Dargo Timna is right now.
Yeah.
But like, they both kind of have that almost inevitability of it, is how I like to compare it at times.
Yeah. See, I think I think that that's one of the benefits of something like a Dargo Timna, is that like if you do play the deck well, you can continuously like put up win attempt. I feel like something like Blue Farm, and I think that Kellen actually was the same person that said this, but the deck is just so forgiving. Like Blue Farm, not necessarily Dargo Timna, but Blue Farm, where you can make mistakes and still be in a perfectly fine situation. Like you make a kind of a misplay and you're still fine because the deck can be very forgiving. I think that's what makes the Blue Farm pilots stand out above, like the good ones stand out above the great ones, or the great ones stand out above just the good ones, because they are able to avoid those potential like mistakes or pitfalls, and then they're able to, again, like they consistently do well because they have so many reps on the deck that they just understand like what they're looking for as far as like a hand and like mulligans and like interact, like all that stuff. So I mean, you can't beat experience on it. I think that that's one big thing for a lot of people to remember, is that even if you're saying, hey, I would like to take a deck for a little bit of like that brewer's advantage, experience is going to beat everything.
Yeah.
Like play a deck that you are familiar with. You know, I definitely think that that is very important.
Well, and you just brought up a comment there, and I'm going to, I guess, kind of segue to a different deck I think people should be mindful of going into these events. Sisay.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just said Brewer's advantage. Sisay right now, like, it's still in the top, like, what? At least within the top 10, for sure. I don't know. I'm not going to change my metrics on this right now. Just to say.
Right now, if you look at top cuts, Sisay is tied with Rogthras, but the conversion rate is much better. So
yeah,
it has
on mine it says 26.19% conversion rate with 11 top cuts within the past month.
Yep.
Like, and I know that the Mind Sculptors recently, they talked about like how right now Sisay's in a very good position, but the reason I'm even bringing it up now is because you just said Brewer's advantage. Like, this is a deck where most people kind of go, okay, there's a Sisay at the table, which version of it is it going to be?
Yeah.
You know, and like, maybe I'm still a little bit hyped up on Sisay right now because I've been playing it and I've felt actually good about going back to the deck. But it is definitely the deck where it's just like, okay, we don't know what the Sisay plan is here. Like, not only is it like you can build this deck however you like, I'm not gonna say you can build it however you want, but like the two main versions of it being like the traditional Planeswalker lines, and then like I would say the next one from that is going to be the Ian talked about this in the video, the hybrid version of it, where it goes traditional Sisay lines, probably with like the Derevi and Mill stuff and Mount Doom, but also goes into the Clam Chowder build, where you're playing the Underworld Breach and you're doing the Thassa's Oracle stuff and things like that. And most pilots have had kind of success in those two worlds of Sisay. You know, I'm right now on the pod version of it. Like, but that even brings up that point. And then like earlier I brought up like Malcolm's version of it, where he was trying to do like the Treasure Storm.
Yeah, Secret Commander Knuckles.
Like, you know, I don't know how many people are going to gravitate towards that version of it, and he's performed well on doing that. I don't know if he's still on that version or not, but like Sisay is the deck right now where it's just like, what is it trying to do? And then before you know it, you see what it's trying to do. But again, it's kind of like what I just mentioned for Atali and for Dargo Timna. It's like, at that point, is it too late to interact with it? And then it also has that element of what you were talking about with Blue Farm, where it's just like, oh, this plan got stopped, so let me, on my next turn, let's go ahead and like present another win potentially because of how forgiving the deck itself is.
Yeah.
So I think that it'll kind of come down to, I think, seed order for the Sisay pilot, but it's definitely one that I think could be a sleeper for this event.
Yeah. No, I mean, I could definitely see that. And like you said, it's one of those decks that's popular but still has the Brewer's advantage because people don't know when to interact. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Now, one deck that I was actually going to say at the very start of the episode, before we started like mentioning a bunch of decks, I honestly think Tivit is a deck that people need to be watching out for.
Okay.
Because I think that it's actually been doing really well. A lot of people have been talking about Marneus. I really feel like there's only one or two people actually doing well with Marneus. Like,
it's you, Tim.
Yeah, no, seriously, like
it's you, Tim.
Yeah, Gold Sabertooth is like the best Marneus pilot right now. Like when you look at the deck in general, it's got a lot of unique cards and like synergies and ways that it plays, and he does just so well with the deck. And I mean, even whenever I did my coaching session with Logan literally, I mean, him and Tim literally just talked today about it, but Logan literally said he can look at a list and say that's a Tim list, or he can look at a list and say, oh, that's a insert whoever other, like whatever other pilot there is. Like, these people are able to build these decks and add their own like little flair to it, and it works for them. But also they're good players.
Right.
Whereas like Marneus is not a deck that you can just afford to go turbo Marneus and say, alrighty, now I've got a Marneus. Because then you start to present these combo pieces and people start to see, oh, he's just about to make infinite mana, he's going to draw his deck. And then they just stop you whenever you're trying to do that. And then you're like, oh, man. Whereas, like, with the way that some of, like, the good players are playing that deck, a lot of the stuff in the 99 is what you really need to be worried about. It's not even Marneus coming down. And I think that a lot of people are finally doing that with Tivit again. They're playing an Esper, a good Esper shell. We lost Jeweled Lotus. We lost things like Mana Crypt. We lost all these, like, quick bursts of mana, so people stopped going turbo Tivit because it's not a turbo list. It's actually a control shell. So then you have to like take it slow, bide your time, find your window, and then boom, now you're doing the Tivit plan. You have a one card have a one card combo, Tivit plus like the time sieve, like in the command zone, ta-da. Now obviously people know what that deck does, so that's kind of a detriment. But in this, I feel like Tivit's going to be a huge plus because it's a 64 player event. I'm pretty sure every single pod is going to be 4 players. If you go to a regular event, there's a chance that you end up in a 3-person pod. Probably not going to happen in an event like this.
No, I agree with you on that. And just to kind of give numbers real quick to it, like I'm looking at the Tivit based on what the metrics were going on for this. It has a conversion rate of 33.33 with 6 top cuts.
Just in the last month?
Just within the last month.
That's insane.
Yeah. But I think that Tivit, like with Marneus, you kind of have to build around, right? Is what it feels like.
Yeah.
But with Tivit, where you're talking about the shell, like even kind of going back to the video that you and Logan did together, where he was like doing the coaching for Zur, like one of the very first things he says in that, it was like, have you kind of thought of or looked at Tivit?
Yeah.
Like it seems like Tivit is almost like the standard right now for where like the Esper control or Esper shells want to be at, whether that is Zur, maybe not Marneus. Marneus plays different than what your other standard like Tivit or not Tivit Esper shells want to do.
Yeah.
But whether you're playing like Zur, whether you're playing what's the Final Fantasy one?
Y'shtola.
Well, yeah, with Y'shtola, the other one, Noctis. Like those are kind of the other 2 that we've seen kind of pop up here recently, especially the Y'shtola one. I think more so than Noctis. We've seen Y'shtola actually pop up a couple of times, but I still feel like they're doing the Esper core shell there that is based off of Tivit.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I definitely agree with you in that. I think that it's one of those. I think it's one of those decks that Esper has access to like a good pile of cards, like in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to use that pile of cards properly for it to actually work in your favor, if that makes sense. Like when the moment you add red, it changes everything that those cards do. Like you can make up for so much of the mana and and the card. I mean, when you think about just having access to something like Brain Freeze and you have access to LED and the Underworld Breach and all that stuff, it literally basically says, hey, see every single card in your deck. It also says, hey, here's all the mana in the world that you need to combo off. With Esper, we struggle to make mana. That's one of the hardest things about that deck. Struggles to make mana, but you still have access to all of the best value engines in the game. You still have access to all of the best tutors in the game, all the unconditional stuff. You have access to fantastic removal. You get access to pretty much all of the best counter spells in the game, minus a couple of the things like Red Blast and Pyroblast, things like that. But you have access to some of the best cards in the game. Right. And not to mention you get access to the silence effects, which are really, really nice. The problem is what's the likelihood if if you just try to turbo blue black, we're gonna jam it turn 2. Very, very high likelihood you're getting stopped. So Tivit, again, because it is a 6-mana commander, people are having to slow roll it. They're doing what the deck wants to do. They're saying, and I'm sure if they see an opportunity for an early Tivit, sometimes that can work out in your favor. But I feel like most of the best players that are going to do well with Tivit, they're probably not saying, yeah, we're looking for a turn 1 Tivit. That's what I'm mulling for. Yeah. They're probably no, I'm looking for a Fish or an Esper Sentinel, or I'm looking for a Heuristic Study. Eventually, I'm going to find enough mana to play the Tivit. I would like to go ahead and start doing the Time Sieve plan and combo in there. Sometimes they're going to they're probably not even going to have Time Sieve in hand. They're just going to play the Tivit, get some extra value, start doing the slow beats plan with the Tivit. I feel like that is an Esper deck that forces people to play the way that Esper needs to. Whereas Marneus can sometimes become this combo deck, infinite mana strat, and then they almost start to play the deck like it's a Thrasios, when it's this is not Thrasios in the zone. You just because you have access to Grim Monolith and Power Artifact and Basalt and all these things, you're not you can make the infinite colorless mana totally fine, but it's not a deck where you just get to hold up all of this mana over the course of a game and slowly start putting Thrasios activations on the stack, or you have a low to the ground commander that gives you access to free interaction. It is he's 5 mana. He's still 5 mana. You have to play the deck differently. So I think that we will obviously see probably Tim play Marneus and do well with it, but I think Tivit's a little bit of a sleeper.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think it's it's at the beginning of the year when we started the channel. I feel like Tivit is probably one that by the end of the year we'll still even though currently I think it's out of the top 10 from whenever we last covered things, I still think it's a phenomenal deck, and I would not be surprised if it finds its way back into at least the top 10 by the time the year's over with. So
yep.
Yeah.
Right as of right now, Tivit is in the top 10. If you go based off of top cuts, 6 months, all commander, 60+ player events. That was what we did?
I think so.
Yeah. So as of right now, Tivit is 9th.
Okay.
And
awesome.
Marneus is actually 10th.
Okay. So we got a couple of Esper decks in there. And, I do think that, and again, I think that was one, but I don't think we talked about Marneus at the time, but I'm going to go back to what I just said. I do feel like Tivit will probably start creeping its way back up even more so than that. Mm-hmm. Is Yuriko still in there?
I can tell you in about 2 seconds.
Okay, tell me.
No.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
Yuriko is currently 14th.
So, but yeah, I think that, whether it's where we've been talking about Atali, the Dardo deck, Sisay so far, Tivit, these are, I think, are decks that people they undermine at times. And some of these others that we're about to talk about as well. You were about to say something just then.
You know what's finally out of the top 10 that me and you always forget about this fucking deck?
Malcolm Vial Smasher?
Yes, it is.
It's out of it.
Every time we go Malcolm Vial, and it always gets us every time. We forget about this deck every single time.
But I think there's a good segue. Okay, so hear me out on this. You made the comment a little bit ago about people not being able to play Tivit like they once were, being able to turbo it out and get it out there. Now they're kind of having to force to play the slower mid-range control-y game. You just brought up Malcolm Vial Smasher, which is a Grixis deck and has been doing well. However, this is a deck that I think this is the reason why it's probably out of the top 10, because of the Grixis deck that I'm thinking of, which is Kefa.
Okay.
I think that makes sense, and I know that our resident Kefka player, Bissy, he's gonna comment on things as soon as I come down and start talking about Kefka, but I am actually going to read a comment that he left a few days ago when we covered the event from Georgia. He said that you could say Kefka is a Grixis hybrid deck. Players are still finding a balance between traditional Grixis Turbo and a blue farm mid-range pivot. And if you want to talk about Kefka, he's the dude to talk about Kefka with. It seems because he just knows. Not only does he know a lot about how this deck is and ways to build this deck, but he is very adamant about this being a very strong deck. And it is another deck we have seen consistently put up numbers, even within our most recent top 16 breakdowns on things. Whether that was like a 4th place finish recently, like so on. So like even kind of going on the numbers from this past month, it has a 34.78 conversion rate with 8 top cuts just within the past month. That's pretty telling. That's pretty good. And even kind of comparing it to Rogside within the past month has a 25% conversion rate with only 9 top cuts.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like those are 2 completely different Grixis decks. Rogside trying to be the fastest deck in the format still. But for another Grixis shell that can actually provide a lot of flexibility on how it wants to play, like the conversion rate and the number of cuts is pretty significant, I think, for Kefka.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think that Kefka's kind of one of those weird decks that, like, I don't know, man. You can go, like we were talking about, you can go fast if you want to. You can try your best to. Like, that's totally fine. But I genuinely think that right now, the way to play cEDH, and like whenever I talked to Fizzle, that was one of the big things that he hit on, is just giving yourself the opportunity to draw more cards or see more cards. Like decks that allow you to see more cards. Now, obviously, Rogside has the ability to like jam early and then say, hey, I'm going to Adnaz, I'm going to Necro, I'm going to whatever, and I'm going to try and convert to a win, and I'm going to do the thing. And I think that that's totally fine. But I feel like, again, Kefka is one of those, like, he's higher, like his mana cost is obviously a lot higher than 0-drop Rogrek.
Right.
You're never casting Silas. If you do, I'm just assuming that you're in awful shape.
Gotta get that Lotus Petal.
Dude, I would, yeah. But it's one of those situations where I think that Kefka forces the Grixis players to, like, Grixis is a really strong shell. I mean, it is insane how good the Grixis shell is. Kefka kind of forces you to slow down, take a second, and say, hey, I'm going to have to, like, you start to see a couple more cards. Now you're looking at your hand, and you're like, oh, wow, I have a couple options here, rather than Rogside looking at their hand from an early mulligan and going, okay, this is the plan. Let's see what happens. And they jam, and it's either you get there, which if you do, that's awesome. You're done, cool. Like, people still got 60 minutes of Magic to keep playing. You can go get some food, go use the bathroom, whatever you got to do. But if you don't get there, you're sitting at the table with nothing to do for another 60 minutes, basically. Yeah. Kefka can be like, hey, I'm going to try and get there. Oh, you stop me? Well, I still have a commander that's going to, like, rip your hands apart, and I'm still going to
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and you made that comment there of, like, just basically, like, trying to see more cards. Yeah. Rogside can go as fast as it wants to until it just gets stops. And there are pilots out there for Rogside that, even if they get stopped, they're good enough they bounce back from it. But I think that, one, with Rogside, like, you have to have, like, a pretty high skill level, I feel like, to pilot that deck. I've tried piloting it before. I've not really enjoyed it. It's not necessarily my play style, so I don't necessarily gravitate toward that. But Kefka, it does have that flexibility. It does, you don't. I'm not gonna say you don't have to have the same skill level to pilot it. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I just think that, again, kind of like where you made the comments about Dargo Timna, and like where I was talking about with Sisay, like Kefka is way more forgiving, I feel like, in the Grixis shell than something like Rogside is. And so, where people can kind of pick it up it'd be a good deck that people can either build around the commander and try to do all the blink stuff, or you're just trying to, or you're trying to do this more Grixis-y mid-range shell, just like Bissy was talking about in that comment of like, trying to make it more like Blue Farm in a way. You can go one way or another with that deck and probably do pretty decent with it. And I think that that's another reason why I bring it up here too, and talk about it almost in the same context where I was talking about with Sisay, where it's just like, okay, which version of this deck are we seeing? Are we going to see this Turbo Clown? Or are we going to see like this mid-rangey, like prepare to grind, and then once everyone's kind of out of gas, okay, now we're going to cast Kefka, and we're going to refill the hand of that player so that way they create this massive disadvantage in the game and just start swaying in their favor.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think that's one of the nice things is that Kefka gives Grixis this opportunity to like pivot into multiple directions. I think that's what Malcolm Vile was. Malcolm Vile had, again, like you all Grixis shells, like you have that opportunity to just do Thoughts of Console. Like that's an option. You still have the opportunity to like do breach stuff, which is obviously like an option. But Rogside was literally just like, hey, let's try to rip as many cards as quick as possible. We'll see if we get there or we won't. Whatever. And then even like Malcolm Vile, it was like, we're doing pirate stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the thing. Kefka offers the opportunity to have so many different plans within just this one Grixis shell that, like, again, you really sometimes like you're sitting there going, I don't know what they're doing. Like,
you don't know what direction they're going with.
Yeah.
On it. So yeah, I think that's definitely one to be on the lookout for this weekend, especially that 34.78 conversion rate. Stupid.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. So, any decks that you think that are on this list currently that you're just like, man, that is not something that I would take to the Invitational? Because obviously, like the popular decks, like obviously Blue Farm, we've already covered that. Blue Farm, that's probably the safest option to take. But Kennen, I feel like is obviously like that would be a fine choice to take. I mean, even then, like.
Well, I think those are the most expected ones. I think between Blue Farm, Kennen, like Rog Thras, I would still put TNT and Rogside in that category of like these. This is like the standard of the format. Like these are the 5 decks that, at the way the current meta is, these are the decks people know are going to be there.
Yeah.
Like as low as maybe some of the conversion on some of these are, like TNT being at 29. I'm not even going to say that's low, but TNT is kind of fallen off these past several months. It's still at a 20.93% conversion rate with 9 top cuts. Rog Thras, as explosive as it is and as popular as it is, actually has a lower conversion rate than that does at 18.64 with 11 top cuts.
Yeah.
And again, these are numbers within the past month. So I think that those are going to be the 5 decks that we would expect, and most people that are going to the event are going to expect. But as far as a deck that I'm seeing on the list that I'm going, I don't know if people should really play that deck right now.
Mm-hmm. VV, just saying.
That's kind of where I was gravitating towards. Like, okay, and we have seen both VV and Rao pop up a couple times, actually more than a couple times.
Yeah.
In our top 16 breakdowns. I honestly, and I could be wrong in saying this, I honestly feel like we have seen more Rao pop up in what we've seen recently. Now, based on what the metrics are for this, that's not right. But I feel like we've seen a lot more come out of Rao here recently than we have VV. I could be wrong.
Well, to be fair, okay, like I'm just looking at this last month, okay? So if you look at just popularity alone, VV had 40 entries. Rao only had 18 entries.
Okay.
But then you actually go and look at top cuts, and VV has 7 top cuts. Rao has 3 top cuts. So their conversion rates are kind of the same, but VV has way more entries. Now, obviously, it's weird too, because like the decks, you would think that they would want to be doing the exact same thing, but I feel like what we're seeing right now is we're seeing Rao get taken in like a pretty similar like streamlined
very low land count,
Yeah.
just trying to get a bunch of, I'm assuming some flips at times, storming off, trying to draw as many cards as it can possibly do as quickly as. Now, there's two different variations of that deck. One where we've seen the prologue to Phyresis and trying to do the Rad Storm stuff, and we've actually seen that one, I think, perform pretty successfully at times. And then the more standard version of it, where it's not doing those things, it's just trying to cast as many spells as it possibly can and just churn through the deck as fast as it can.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that is literally just like how many, like, let me see as many cards as possible and cast as many of them for free as possible. And I mean, that's a solid strategy. Like, I played against some Rao literally the other day, and I mean, it won two games back to back. It won turn 2, and immediately the whole table was like, okay, we've got to actually respect this. Like, we've got to prepare, like, mulligan appropriately for this deck. I mean, I literally, like, I kept a Necropotence, and like, I mean, literally, it was like turn 1 Necro, knowing that I was fixing to go into this Rao. Ripped a ton of cards to see.
I just kept interaction.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I still couldn't stop the deck. I mean, the deck is nuts. It goes very, very, very fast, but it's one of those things where you're trading consistency for speed. If you want something that is consistent, that's why you're seeing the top decks that are at the top be there, because they are consistent. They consistently are able to do that.
But at the same time, like, I guess between those two decks, like, kind of going back to that comment that was made earlier on, like, where we are right now, it's either people are just trying to set up their board state and accrue value engines in the very beginning, or they're just trying to jam.
Yeah.
I think Rao more so than VV is the deck that you're just trying to jam with.
100%. Yeah.
And so, like, if it's like you're saying there in those couple games that you played the other day, if you were not prepared for Rao, especially if Rao's sitting seat 1, seat 2, and you didn't, like, you just kept, a Ristic Study hand, or you're just trying to focus on your own gameplay, well, the game might already be over by then.
Yeah.
And so I think Rao could be, I'm not going to, obviously by the numbers, like, VV is technically doing better, but it has a lot more representation right now. So I think that's why we're seeing that difference there. But what you said, there were 40 based on popularity. There are 40
entries for VV.
And how many for Rao?
18.
There are 18. So less than half of what VV has, and still pretty close in conversion rate.
Yeah.
That kind of speaks, I think, volumes. Like, if we saw, like, the same numbers in Rao that we do VV, if it was actually even, we'd probably see more top cuts.
Yeah.
I think in Rao than we would VV right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would not. I don't know. I think that if you're trying to win, I don't think you go with the VV right now.
I don't think you go with either one of them personally, but I think that if you had to pick one, I think Rao it's doing really good. I feel like we've seen a lot of Rao at least. Like, that's something. But then again, we're also looking at top cuts, and this is only for August, basically, like, or technically for the last month. So like in the July into August, when in reality, like, I mean, we can check and see how it looks over the last 6 months. Like VV, I mean, they came out at the same time. Yeah, like if you go off of the last 6 months, Rao has a 32.75 conversion rate with 19 top cuts. VV has a 19.48 conversion rate with only 15 top cuts based off of the last 6 months. So, I mean, obviously, like, VV has been doing a little bit better this month so far. Maybe people are starting to finally respect the Rao players at the table, or people are just not playing Rao as much, but that's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I mean, obviously, when you have more entries, you're more than likely going to see a lower conversion rate to provide a little bit more consistency in how the deck is actually performing. And so I'm not necessarily taking that into consideration.
Yeah, I'm looking more at, like, the top cut. I like to look at top cuts more anyway, personally, just because it shows, like, how people are actually, like, doing well with the deck. I mean, you can have a deck that has one top cut, and then that means it has 100% conversion rate, you know what I mean, or something crazy.
Yeah, and I feel like a good example of why we don't really look at that, like, I'm looking at the Wandering Minstrel right now with a conversion rate of 60%, but it only has 3 top cuts.
Yeah.
Not discrediting the deck or the pilots or anything like that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the deck that people want to be taking. That might be another example of a deck. I don't know if you want to take it to the Invitational or not.
Maybe.
Even though we've covered it here recently and it did well, and I feel bad because the person that piloted it, he commented, and it was just like, that's actually not how the deck was supposed to like be listed. They had Luris as the companion, so on. I just hate that we didn't cover it appropriately, I guess, just because it didn't have that information on TopDeck. But
to be fair, though, 2 of those 3 top cuts that it made were in events that were over 100 players. And they were different players. All 3 of the top cuts were different players. One of them was 9th place in a 110 player event. One of them was 4th place in a 128 player event, and the other one was 3rd place in a 78 player event.
And the 9th place one, that's the person that commented.
Yeah.
So.
And then, I mean, even the 3rd place one, they lost to Ian.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, I don't know. As far as other decks that I probably would not take, you know what kind of makes me sad?
What?
Derevi. I still love Derevi. I love the idea of Derevi. I just don't think it's doing as well as what I was hoping, especially since like Dogthras has continued to climb not just Dogthras climbing in popularity, but even the TNT lists that are starting to adopt more of the Turbo Cradle shell. I think Derevi has kind of fallen off a little bit too. So I don't know if that is necessarily something that someone wants to take to this event that's coming up this weekend or here coming up. I still think it's a great deck. I think that it seems like a lot of fun. I just don't know if that's what you want to be doing going into like a really big event like this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can definitely agree with that.
But it even has a better conversion rate than what Dogthras does at the moment. Like Derevi is at 18.18 with 2 top cuts. Dogthras is at 13.04 with 3.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's even too just people kind of going, if we're going to play a deck like this, we might as well just play Rockthras.
What's crazy to me is like I'm actually really happy with like how many Esper decks are even just on this list, like doing well. Like again, I say this all the time. Like there's so many different like flavors of Esper that you can be playing, but it's really, really, really cool. One thing now, obviously, like I'm not saying that the deck is better. I don't think that at all. But like if you literally just look at top cuts off of the last month with like the same thing we had, all commanders 60+ player tournament says, technically Xur has a better conversion rate than Marneus Calgar.
Really?
Xur has 2 top cuts at a 25% conversion rate. Marneus has 2 top cuts at a 14.28% conversion rate. So
that's crazy.
Now, obviously, I'm not saying that.
And I think that Esper is a good segue into this commander real quick. But for Terra.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's not one we have covered like a lot on the channel so far. We may have touched on it 1 or 2 times from events, but I think it's because it's been doing really well at smaller events, and that's probably why the numbers are like the way that it is. But looking at the conversion rate in the top cuts within the past month, Terra is at 38.46% conversion rate with 5 top cuts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, from what I've gathered from talking to certain, like obviously like players that are way better than me in the space, they say that the deck operates very similar to something like Rogside, or at least that's what they say. Like if you want to do well with the deck, that's the way that you should be trying to like play the deck. I don't know how true that is. I'm just going to take them at their word because they're way better than me. Like I'm talking to people that have made the Invitational. Cool, whatever, But like apparently, like that kind of makes sense. Like if you could play a 5-color turbo deck that's essentially Rogside, like it's pretty good.
And just trying to do the jam food chain stuff as quickly as possible.
I guess so. Yeah, that or like the breach stuff, like just trying to go as quick as possible. Wheels, like just jam.
Well, and I guess you could go one way or another. You have the pieces to be able to get out both.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things. It's like, oh, my food chain plan got stopped. Oh no, let's go into the Underworld Breach or just toss as Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact. Like there's so much flexibility, I think, with that commander. I still think it's a good commander. I don't know if people will run it, but I do think the conversion rate is worth mentioning within the past month. Like it being a deck that you, like you were saying, have access to all 5 colors, like having access to just Unroll Breach and Thassa's alone is pretty significant, especially since that's what Blue Farm does. And Rogside does, but Blue Farm tends to do it a lot better at times than what Rogside does. Terra just adds green, and then you could go Food Chain, and Food Chain wins games. So, like, you know, I think that is another deck that can just kind of come out of nowhere at times. I know that even like a couple weeks ago when we were setting up and trying to do recorded gameplay, we were with Will, and he was just, and I think he had made a comment whenever I brought up Terra. He's like, Terra, really? Like, it's not doing as well. And I was like, dude, go check it out. Like, it has a few first place finishes here recently. It has a better conversion. And he's like, oh, well, shit. Yeah, it has a better conversion and everything else than what Kefka and like some of these other ones are doing right now. So I don't know. I don't know if that would be one that like some of these players are actually going to want to take. But I definitely think that as people like are either trying to do some of the stuff that's different from Blue Farm, or they're trying to find things that might catch some people off guard, I think Terra could be like a sleeper.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely could see that. Honestly, what I am curious about, and I mean, I guess this is just kind of like wrapping things up, just because we've been talking about so many different decks. In your opinion, what do you think is going to be the deck that ends up like if you had to just say a top 4 pod, I mean, it obviously, and then like a winner, what do you think is going to end up being the decks that end up top 4ing the Invitational, or like even winning the Invitational?
Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was like, I know we haven't even talked about Kennen that much, but I could almost see it like based off of what we talked about, I think it'd be really cool if we saw like one Blue Farm.
Okay.
And then like, I think it'd be cool if we saw a Blue Farm, a Kefka,
okay,
you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to throw a Magda in there. We didn't talk about Magda, but Magda just comes out of nowhere too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's one that's kind of fallen off a little bit. Maybe not necessarily in popularity, but like everyone else has talked about all these other decks that it's just like, oh, Magda's still a thing. Like, people need to make sure they're still prepared for the Magda game plans. But I said Blue Farm, Kefka. I'm going to throw Magda in there. And Kennen. Yeah. I think that would be a kind of cool, you know, Final 4 pod. I don't know. Obviously, there's no way of determining if that's what it would be, but like 2 of the best decks in the format. Probably everyone preparing for Rogthras, and like just the Rogthras plans getting shut out at times potentially. And then just you have this one like or 2 like not fringe decks, but still really viable decks in the format, and then one that's like becoming more and more popular, and obviously performing well here recently. I could see that as a Final 4 pod. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with for that one. What do you think? What do you think that Final 4 is gonna be?
Oof, I don't know.
Collector
Obviously,
Roof?
just Collector Roof as the commander. They're playing Pauper cEDH, but no, I think that I don't know. I think that it would obviously be really cool to like see some fringe stuff like chucked in there somewhere. Man, it really just depends on what people are going to play. Like, I think that if Pigeon shows up with Atali, I think Pigeon probably makes top 4 with Atali. I know that sounds insane, but as much as he's been playing in Critical's League and then also like going and just playing in all these events and doing stuff, if he's going, I haven't even checked to see if he's going, but I think he is. But like, it really would not surprise me to see Atali in the top, which is be awesome. Especially because it's Pigeon, but I think that he's just so good that I could see that happening. I think that we'll probably see like Blue Farm for sure.
Yeah.
I just hope we don't see multiple. No offense, but
and it could very well just end up being 2 Blue Farm, a Kennen, and a Rogthras.
2 Blue Farm, a Kennen.
2 Blue Farm, a Kennen, and a Rogthras.
Yeah. I mean, it could be.
I mean,
well, I think that we probably will see a Rogthras. I mean, we have so many good Rogthras pilots that are going. Like, Sam Black is just insane to begin with.
Yeah.
The dude was incredible at 60 card. Now he's incredible at cEDH. I could definitely see him going and like doing super, super well with Rogthras and like potentially making top cut. Did you say Ian's potentially not going? Like,
I don't know if I think he's going to Steel City
okay,
instead.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it would be. I genuinely don't know.
I don't know.
I think that obviously like him not going, like, I don't know. I'd be inclined to even be like, loot. No, I'm just but no, I'm just I guess in reality,
if he goes, it's just Ian. It's not whatever deck he plays. It's just Ian's in the top 4. Like
that's top 4. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm biased too, so I'm hoping we see old Grandpa Dardo in the top.
I hope so.
I mean, to be fair, dude. To be fair, like honestly, to be fair, Kellen has won some big ass events with Dardo. I'm talking huge events.
Oh yeah.
So I'm calling it right now.
Kellen.
Dardo wins it all.
Okay. I don't know. I'd also like to see Sisay in the top pod. That'd be cool. I'd really like to see that.
Yeah.
But a man can dream.
Yeah.
Ain't that right, Jack? A man can dream.
Yeah.
What you dreaming
I think
about?
that's the toughest thing about this is because we have so many people that we know that are going now. Like obviously, I want Jake to do well. He's running Blue Farm.
Oh yeah.
Granny in the club. And then and then and then you've got obviously like I love Fizzle, great guy. He's playing. I don't know what he's playing, but I know he was playing Rogside for the longest time. Like he's probably like I obviously want to see him do well. I talk to him all the time with like
he might still take a Traxa.
Hell, no, he fired a Traxa.
Did he?
Straight up told me Traxa fired, over, done with. He's been loving Rogside, so I could definitely see that. Like I said, I mean, just watching so much critical stuff and like some of the other things, I like Pigeon. I really like his stuff. I mean, he's just a good player in general. Obviously, like we said, Kellen. I mean, we've become really good friends with him. I want to see him do well. I would love to see some of the critical guys do well, like Jason. Like if he's taking Blue Farm, I'd love to see him do well. I would love to see. I mean, obviously, like there's just so many people in the space that we've gotten the chance to know. I would love to see Tim do well with Marneus. You know what I mean? Like I would love to see so many of these people do well, but it sucks because only one of them can win. Yeah. So like,
well, but I mean, it sucks, but they know that.
Yeah, yeah. Of course.
Like they wouldn't be in the space. They wouldn't be as popular as they are or as good as they are if they didn't be like, yeah. At the end of the day, it can only be one of us.
Yeah. The only thing that I truly, 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 truly care about, and if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you know that this is 100%
I have a feeling
true.
I know where you're going.
I don't want to fucking see a Yuriko anywhere in the top 16.
So here's what we need to happen, folks. Those of you that are going to the Invitational, I just need you all to switch to Yuriko. So that way Blake has to talk about Yuriko. And maybe if that happens, if Yuriko makes it in that top 4 or wins, maybe Blake has to play Yuriko on the channel. Just a thought. I'm making him agree to it now.
If we had 1,000 subs, I'll play Yuriko in an event. Chase will play Flubs in an event. I'll play Yuriko in an event.
Oh my god. He'll probably hate himself the whole time doing that.
If I fucking do well with it, I'll hate myself.
Yeah.
I'll cry. I'll be like, consult. And they'll be like, got nothing for it. And I'll be like, fucking please have an answer. Please.
I mean, you can concede.
That's a sorcery speed action. They're just on the stack.
Sadness on the stack. But yeah, maybe that's what we'll do when we finally hit 1,000. We're about to hit 600 at least.
Fuck yeah,
that's
dude.
Pretty good. Actually, hold on. Let me check the count. At the time of recording, we are at still 595. But that's pretty good. I mean, that's still pretty good.
I'm pretty fucking happy with that. We started the year
with like 40.
Yeah. Double digits, hadn't done shit. I had made videos forever ago or something. And like they just kind of were like, eh. And then we just were like, fuck it, let's make cEDH content.
But then we didn't get gameplay going until like, what, 2-3 months in?
Yeah, no,
something like
that.
that.
Yeah, we had, no, dude, that's one of the things that's so crazy. Like, just even talking about the channel for a sec too, but like, because again, like I said, we'll wrap some things up. But like, that's one of the things that's just been crazy. It feels like this has just all been like a big blur. Like, we've made a fuck ton of content this year. Like, we have literally made so much content.
We're making more.
Yeah, we're still making more.
We're making more.
But the one thing that I'm the happiest about is like we made a point to say we will not miss uploading. Like, we will not miss a week as far as like uploading.
Yeah.
And we've stuck to that shit.
Yeah.
And so like I'm just happy with that. I'm happy to see the way the channel's grown. I'm happy to see that we've actually had an opportunity to like connect to people in the space. It's been super fun just getting to meet these people, get to know them, get to play games with these people, get to chit chat. I've
Yeah.
gotten to fucking yap more this year than I feel like I ever have, which is awesome because I love to yap. So I don't know. I'm just happy. I don't give a fuck what wins the Invitational as long as it's not Yuriko.
Yeah, fuck Yuriko.
Fuck Yuriko.
But and even kind of touching on some of those things, like even if we're not getting like, you know, hundreds of thousands of views, and we're not getting like, you know, hundreds of subs a day or anything like that, that's not what the important part of this is. It's literally what I talked about earlier. It's like, I feel like, you know, whether it's, I feel this way, but we've had enough conversations at this point now on this subject that it's just like, I feel like we're both at this point. Like, it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality and bringing people into this space and trying to push this format in a direction that is not just fitting for everyone, but is trying to be like this positive, like wanting to, like, not just like get better, but also like wanting to connect, wanting to like explore different possibilities, wanting to actually get out there and building these relationships with people in all these different communities that we have going on into just one space, really, that we all come together on, and then can actually like you know, continue pushing the format however it needs to be.
Well, and I 100% agree. And I actually heard something that was extremely funny, and I just want to like throw this out there and then I'll shut up. But I think that one of the funniest things that I heard over the weekend was, which I don't know if anybody in the cEDH space is going to know who this is. They might, but Alex Ramosi, I don't know if you know who that is. So like Alex is extremely popular in like the business space. Like he was, and I'm sure people are like, okay, I'm done, click off. But like he, like I'm super into like business, like owning my own business, having all this stuff. Like I just deep dive. I've literally got 2 of his books there. I've already pre-ordered his 3rd book that's coming out in August, like the 16th, I think. So I mean, like, probably actually same day. What is the Invitational, right? 16th.
Yeah. 16th.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, it comes out the same day as the Invitational. But he literally was talking about like when he first got into content creation, because he was thinking like, okay, think about just in general, like content, like business. If I make content about business, that is this huge sphere of people that fit into that. But the more narrow you get, the more connected the people feel to what you're making, if that makes sense. So like if I make content that is about, you know, like gym business content for people in Kentucky, gym owners in Kentucky are going to resonate very hard with that. So that's kind of what the cEDH space is. Like, our job isn't to go super wide. It's we are in a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche. We have a very niche hobby that a lot of people like not a ton of people are like, you know, grand scheme of things are into this hobby. But the thing is that the people that are into the hobby were really into the hobby. And those are the people that we want to talk to. Those are the people that we want to have like these deep relationships with. And so I'm glad that our content is at least seeming to resonate with the people that are deep into this hobby.
Right.
I don't care about getting millions and billions of views and all that stuff. I'm just happy that like the people that are watching our content are people that we would want to watch our content. Right. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Well, with that being said, if you made it this far in the video and you have been watching our content, let us know what you think. If you have any certain expectations that maybe we didn't even discuss for the TopDeck Invitational that's coming up this weekend, like, let us know what your thoughts are. What do you feel like are going to be maybe outside of just the blue forms and the cannons and things like that? What other decks do you feel like are going to like show up, potentially perform well, or catch people off guard, things like that? Like, let us know, because, you know, once this weekend's over, I mean, obviously we're going to be covering, you know, that event. I hope, probably, I don't know, between that and the Steel City event, like they're both happening this weekend. So, you know, we'll probably figure it out, or we'll leave it up to you all to decide which one you would rather see come up in the next time we, you know, I guess next week when we do our top 16 of either one of those events. But yeah, let us know what you guys think. With that being said, you know, if you don't have anything else, I don't have anything else, I think we're good to go. We're going to just say like, subscribe, and as always,
go play some cEDH.
Yeah, we didn't fuck up the outro, did we?
No.